Okay. So we're going to Genesis 32, verse, depending on which version of Bible you're in, is 4 or 3. So that's where we're going. In the Complete Jewish Bible, it'll be verse 4. Okay? All right, y'all ready? Okay, we got a lot to cover. So Yaakov sent messengers ahead of him to Esau, his brother, toward the land of Seir, the country of Edom, with these instructions. Here's what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Yaakov says, I have been living with Laban and have stayed until now. I have cattle, donkeys, and flocks, and male and female servants, and I'm sending to tell this news to my lord in order to win your favor. Right? In order to win your favor. So let's stop right there. Let me grab something here so I can follow along with you. When's the last time Jacob saw Esau? Long time ago. Right? 20, 21 years. It says 20. Yeah, but then he's been traveling, so, 20.
Okay, 20 years, 6 months.
But who's counting? Who's counting? We're not keeping track, so. It's been over 20 years. Okay? And the last thing that happened was maybe not a pleasant thing, one of them wanted to kill his brother and the other one did what his mama said, and you got family intrigue. These are real life human beings. This is real life family. Okay. And God just told him, he just the verse before this, God is in this place. God is in this camp, right? And Jacob's been having visions, dreams, right? Okay. He has visions and dreams. This is how God talks to Jacob and talks to him. And he says, I will be with you. Didn't we read that? I will be with you. And he's grown up a little bit. And he knows how to negotiate. Right, he learned. So he sends messengers ahead of him to Esau. He's still a human being. Okay. We just talked about earlier today how even if, no matter what, I'm going to trust and obey. And yet, my flesh still goes, well, maybe I should send a little white flag. We're human. Okay, I'm just saying, we're human. Our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are no different. They're human. I'm glad their insecurities are written for us. I'm glad their failures are written for us. Because if all we saw was the perfection,
hope.
Yes.
For ourselves.
Yes. So he's going to send messengers to Esau, his brother, ahead of him in Seir, the country of Edom. And he's going to send them with these instructions. My lord Esau. Who got the blessing?
Jacob.
Who got the inheritance? Jacob. What is he doing? You're the firstborn. I'm coming. Oh, he's paving the way. He's trying for restoration here, right? He's trying for restoration and favor. He's being humble. Okay? All right. And he just had this thing with God, 2 camps. Then the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we went to your brother Esau, and he's coming to meet you. With 400 men. With 400 men. I highlighted 400 men. Okay? With 400 men. And Yaakov became greatly afraid and distressed. Now, it would be so easy for us to sit here and go, no, you shouldn't have done that. You know who God is. Didn't God just talk to you? And didn't he just do this? And didn't he? That is not encouraging.
Okay.
That is not uplifting. Bite your tongue. Swallow the blood. If you can't be encouraging, just sit quiet. You know, Job's friends would have been better if they'd have just and remained quiet. Just saying. Instead, we see his humanness, right? You can have the greatest victory, and then you step and like, I have times that I call limbo. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. I hate limbo.
Me too.
Because limbo means you're hanging there.
And you don't know what's coming.
And you don't know what's coming. Your spirit, your mind says, yet, I'm going to follow you and obey. And yet, there's this thing just hanging there. And it's uncomfortable. And you have to choose. Yet. Sometimes I want to identify what is it? And sometimes he says, nah. Yeah, what?
Just trust me.
Just trust me. So, the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we went to your brother Esau, and he's coming to meet you with 400 men. And Jacob became greatly afraid and distressed. You see, it's our humanness, okay? Don't pounce on Jacob and say what's wrong with him. Please. 400 men? Yeah, okay. With little children under, 12 years old? 11 of them? Well, 12 if you count the young girl, but only 11 sons at this point. Okay. So he divided the people, the flocks, the cattle, and the camels into 2 camps, saying, if Esau comes to the one camp and attacks it, at least that camp that is left will escape. Wow. He's moving, you would say, oh, well, he's moving in his flesh. So, what does he require of you? If you don't know what to do, do what you know to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But acknowledge in all your ways. Acknowledge him. Didn't we learn that this morning? Acknowledge God and then do what you believe. Sometimes doing means standing still and doing nothing. Sometimes it means being quiet. Sometimes it means you go out. Sometimes you have to turn because you have to step out so that you can see the path he wants you to go on. Okay. Then Yaakov said, then after the fear, after this is us, right? It's not until we go, oh, wait a minute. Okay. God, you are God. You are God. Being distressed, being doubtful initially, having those things, there's no sin there. The sin is what you do after you're confronted with it. The sin is whether you choose to wallow in it, whether you choose to fall victim to it, whether you choose to walk through that, or whether you choose, okay, what would you have me to do? Or, okay, it's the choice. Then Yaakov said, oops.
That's pretty much what he said.
Oops. God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac. I'm acknowledging your reputation. I'm acknowledging who you are. Okay? Adonai who told me. That's powerful. Can we say the same thing?
Yes.
Yes, because he told me right here. And I am grafted into this covenant. He's a personal God. He's a personal God. Adonai who told me, return to your country and your kinsmen, and I will do you good. But there's 400 men coming. I don't know if you saw that or not. And that's kind of funny, isn't it? But he tells us to tell him. He already knows. I'm not worthy of all the love and faithfulness you have shown your servant. This is where you go. Just like David. Just like David. Okay. You said this, and I'm not worthy. See his heart? I'm not worthy of all the love and the faithfulness you have shown your servant since I crossed the Jordan, with only my staff. Remember, I left with nothing. I had a rock for a pillow. But now, I like that 3-letter word, but. But now, I have become 2 camps. Please rescue me. Hoshiana. God save, right? Hoshiana. Please rescue me from my brother Esau. I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid he'll come and attack me without regard for mothers or children. Because you see, man has choice. And this man Esau has choice. Yes, you're God, but he has choice too. So I'm giving you this situation. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? I'm afraid of him, afraid he'll come and attack without regard for mothers or children. You said, I will certainly do you good and make your descendants as numerous as the grains of sand by the sea, which are so many they can't be counted. Remember a dagger in the air? For one son. And then that one son had twins. And now this one is, you promised. I'm grafted into that covenant. He stayed there that night. Then he chose from among his possessions the following as a present for Esau, his brother. 200 female goats, count the groups, and 20 males. 200 female sheep and 20 males. 30 milk camels and their colts. 40 cows and 10 bulls. And 20 female donkeys and 10 colts. Right? That's a lot of. That's not as many sheep as we just counted, right?
Not close.
That's definitely not 200 goats, and that's definitely not 200 sheep. That might be 30 camels. I don't know. I didn't count them. Definitely not that many cows. And they're not necessarily the cows we see here in America. Aw, isn't he cute? I wonder if Balaam's look like that. I'm sorry, just, you know, my mind. Curious minds just want to know. That's the landscape. He stayed there that night and he chose. And then he turned them over to his servants. Every drove by itself, and he said to his servants, cross over. See this? See the dry bed right in there? The dry little area? Okay, water can go through there. Okay, so crossing over can be as little as that or as big as the Jordan. Okay? But they are on, okay. So let me, this is the Jordan. Okay, so this is what we would call Israel. This is the heart of Israel, which is called the West Bank right now, which is still
That's in the
Israel.
north
It's the
part,
heart of Israel. Okay? Sea of Galilee's up here. Dead Sea's down here. I want you to take note. This is where Sukkoth is. Seir is right in here, where Esau would live. Okay? And here's Mount Ebal and Mount Gershom. So Shechem would be over here. So at some point, I'm showing you ahead of time. We're going to read that he goes to Sukkoth because he came down way from up here, Padam Aram. Remember up here by the Euphrates River? And he came down. And he's over here. He's going to go to Sukkoth. And Edom is down here. And then he's going to move over to Shechem. Okay? So just so you have geography. But there are little rivers. And they can look like that. Okay? When they're dry. All right? Okay. Now, what verse am I on? Oh, there's a, here, this one's even better. So, right in here is probably where Sukkot is. This is modern day Jordan. Okay? This is modern day Jordan.
It's Israel.
But it's, yeah, it's really Israel. Okay? It should be Israel. All the way, this is what where the Golden Heights are. Okay? Mount Hermon's up here. That is the Nazareth. This is the Mediterranean Sea, just so you get your bearings and where you're at. So you got your Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee, the Jordan area, Petra's down in here, where Moses dies down in here, but this is still supposed to be Israel. Yes, and you have your map. You have your map.
So I
Okay.
have a question. Can I ask a question, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Jacob moved with his family.
Yeah.
And then, so where were they when Joseph was sold into slavery? And then he went,
They're going to be on this side.
okay, so from there, they took him to Egypt.
And then they're, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So they're going to go from here,
Right.
over here between the mountains, Ebal and Gershom, Sukkoth, and they're going to go down. And so he's going to go down actually into the Negev. When we get there, he'll go down through the Negev and across the Sinai Peninsula, which is Egypt, into Egypt. Okay? To what we call Egypt today. But the Sinai Peninsula is Egypt today. And it was Egypt when they actually left in the Passover too. Okay, Saudi Arabia is where they went.
So
Did that answer?
So yes, thank you. So Jacob and his family, they crossed the Jordan River. Thank you.
Not in this part of the story, but eventually, yes.
Yeah.
They've come down from Padamaran up
Right,
here.
right.
They've come down through the Golan Heights and the mountains. And remember when they had that thing with Laban?
Yes.
And then they've come down to here.
Thank
But
you.
this is all green and beautiful. It's perfect for all their animals. Okay. All right. Good question. All right. Now what verse am I on? I forgot.
14?
Gotta find my glasses too. Okay.
Oh, no, that's where you read the animals.
Okay, see, 17. He turned them over to his servants, every drove by itself, and he said to his servants, cross over in front of me. So cross over that little brook, water, wadi, whether it's dry, whether it has water in it, I can't tell you, cross over. And keep a space between each drove. 5. Okay, there was a scientific study done decades ago that if you want to form a new habit or a new way of thinking, you need to do something consecutively 5 times. Thought that was interesting.
Only 5 times? I thought it was 3 weeks.
Well,
Well,
you've got
said
to-
it may be 3 weeks. 5 times back then.
5 times. Well, but you start to develop a habit.
Yeah.
Okay, you start to change your thinking. You start to grab attention. Something happens once, twice, 3 times. Okay, I'm starting to pay attention. 4 times. Okay, what's going on here? 5. Okay, what is going on? Okay, so you got your attention, and now it's like, okay, well, I've got 5 under my belt. Let's keep going. Okay. He instructed the servant in front, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, whose servant are you? Where are you going? And whose animals are these? Then you are to say, they belong to your servant, Jacob. And they are a present he has sent to my lord Esau. He's still showing deference to his older brother. Okay. Oh, where am I?
And Yaakov
Thank you.
himself.
And Yaakov himself is just behind us. Thank you. He also instructed the second servant, and the third, and all that followed, every single time. Okay? When you encounter Esau, you are to speak to him in the same way, and you are to add, and there just behind us is your servant Yaakov. For he said, I will appease him first with the present that goes ahead of me. We talked about this a couple times now. When you go, when you go to someone, take a gift. You're trying to mend relationship. This is how Jacob got the blessings, and so now he's blessing. Okay? For he said, I will appease him first with the present that goes ahead of me, and after that I will see him myself, and maybe he will be friendly toward me. Maybe I'll appease him. So the present crossed over ahead of him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. He got up that night, took his 2 wives, his 2 slave girls, and his 11 children. You see the pecking order there? And forded the Yabok. He took them and sent them across the stream. Ah, so there's water there. Then sent his possessions across, and Yaakov was left alone. This story is so interesting. Then some man, I wonder who, wrestled with him until daybreak. When he saw that he did not defeat Yaakov, he struck Yaakov, or Jacob's hip, so that his hip was dislocated. That's gotta hurt. And he's still wrestling with him? While he dislocated it while wrestling with him. And the man said to him, "Let me go, because it's daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I won't let you go unless you bless me." So he recognizes. Okay? Remember, the greater always blesses. The man asked, "What is your name?" And he said, "Yaakov," Jacob. And then the man said, "From now on, you will no longer be called Yaakov or Jacob, but Israel, because you have shown your strength to both God and men and have prevailed." And Yaakov asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he answered, "Why are you asking my name?" And he blessed him there. Yaakov called the place Peniel. Peniel is what it is. If you say Panim, it's faces, but you say Paneh or Paneh, it's face, singular.
Face of God, yeah.
Okay? So, oops. I got way ahead of myself, didn't I? So he is recognizing. Okay, there are places in Scripture where he appears before he comes. Okay. He called it the face of God, because I have seen God's face to face, and yet my life is spared. As the sun rose upon him, and he went on past Peniel, limping at the hip. This is why to this day the people of Israel do not eat the thigh muscle that passes along the hip socket, because the man struck his hip at its socket. So certain traditions start from different reasons. Okay. Yaakov raised his eyes and he looked out, and there was Esau coming, and 400 men with him. So Yaakov divided the children between Leah, Rachel, and the 2 slave girls. Isn't it interesting? They're still not called his wives here. They're called his 2 slave girls. Or not even his 2 slave girls, the 2 slave girls. Putting the slave girls and their children first. How'd you like to be that child? Leah and her children second. She's the first wife. And Rachel and Joseph last. Then he himself passed on ahead of them and prostrated himself on the ground 7 times before approaching his brother. And Esau ran to meet him. This is beautiful. Let me get there. Esau ran to meet him, and what did he do? He hugged him. He hugged him, and he threw his arms around him. I'm not sure that this is probably the meeting that Jacob was expecting. And he threw his arms around his neck, and he kissed him, and they wept. Both of them. 2 grown men. You have to understand they're at least in their 60s. We're not talking young boys. We're not talking teenagers. Okay, they're at least in their 60s. Okay. And Esau looked up, and on seeing the women and the children, he said, "Who are these with you?"
Yeah, these are the children.
And Jacob answered, "The children God has graciously given to your servant." And then the slave girls approached with their children, and they prostrated themselves. Then Leah too and her children approached and prostrated themselves. And last came Joseph and Rachel, and they prostrated themselves. And then Esau says, after all the introductions, "Hey, what was the meaning of all of those droves that I saw? There were, goats, and there were sheep, and there were camels, and there were cows, and there were donkeys. What's the meaning of all of that?" And he says, "It was to win my Lord's favor." And Esau replied, "I have plenty already, my brother." Ah, there's the word we're looking for. I have plenty already. my brother. All is well. All is well. Keep your possessions for yourself. You think maybe Esau in this time, we don't know. We're not given any insight. But somehow Esau has realized that, you know, Jacob was the better of the two. Or Jacob had the training. Jacob had the insight. Me, I didn't care about my possession. I didn't care about my inheritance. I didn't care about my blessing. It didn't matter to me until I lost it. And then I was mad. And then I was angry. Yeah, he's grown up. He's grown up. So Yaakov said, no, please. He goes, you know, keep your possessions. And Jacob says, no, please. If I have won your favor, then accept my gift. We get this with Abraham? Back and forth? Oh, no, take the cave. No, I'll buy it. Oh, what's 400? Ah, okay. Right? Okay. We keep reading Proverbs, and Proverbs is going to tell us about a gift. If I've won your favor, then accept my gift. Just seeing your face has been like seeing the face of God. Okay. What happened the day before? He wrestled with God. I have seen God's face. He wrestled with God. I have seen his face. And, you know, prior to that, I said, God, you know, I'm afraid of my brother. He's coming, and he's got 400 men, and all these things are blah, 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 right? Whoops, I did it again. And he has this encounter with him, right? He has that encounter with God, okay? And then, now the next day, he sent us gifts to his brother. Now he's talking with his brother. And seeing you is like seeing the face of God. I just had this encounter. And so I am blessed because all is well. There's restoration. Do you understand? This was a positive thing. Okay?
Face of God. Does it say face of God?
Not here.
That's interesting because Moses wasn't allowed to see his face.
Right.
And then we're seeing here that so we got to question that translation a little bit.
The Hebrew says panim, face.
Yeah,
The Hebrew actually
that's
says
in
panim.
conflict with what he told Moses, you can't see my face. So was it God or was it Adonai in this situation?
It says face of God. It says panim el. It says face of God.
Well,
So it says face of God. But you have places where there are some things that happen that aren't supposed to happen. I mean, David eats the showbread. The showbread is only for the priests. So, you know, it's the heart and the condition. We weren't there. We don't know exactly what was going on. We have to take the word for what the word says.
Right.
And if we get something later on where, no, Moses, you can't see my face. But you see, Moses and Jacob are two different individuals. And Moses goes, oh, you know, I can't speak. Moses gives him excuses. And Moses does this. So maybe God says, no, like with Paul, my grace is sufficient. So with Moses, no, this is my encounter. Each individual human being's encounter is completely different with God than any other human being. And so they will not be the same. So for Moses, no, he couldn't. I'm going to hide you in the cleft of the rock. Isn't it enough that you see my magnificent? Isn't it enough that you saw all my miracles? Isn't it enough that you saw all my glories? You know? I mean, you look at Samson's mother. The father goes, I want to talk to the angel. And it's like, he talks to the mother. Oh, well, maybe it's because the mama was a little more humble. I don't know. I'm not there. But he talks to the mama, not to the dad, who wants him to talk to him. And he says, oh, we're going to die. We've seen God.
Right.
Okay, same thing. Same thing.
On the preface of John 3, that Christ created all things, that he is the God of the Old Testament, Adonai, because there's a difference in where the name is given, Elohim said it, and there's a difference that Adonai said it. So many say that Christ, Yeshua, is Adonai, the God of the Old Testament, which would make sense that he didn't really see Elohim, that he saw somebody else. That's what I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
well, this
No,
is-
it says
this
face
is-
of God.
says As one sees the face of God. Doesn't
As
matter.
one says, yeah.
It's the
so-
face of
He
God.
saw the face of God.
Well, there's no conflict in it, so I don't know why it would be. I'm just asking, your opinion, how you feel about it, because if it says no one can see my face to Moses and live, and then here it is, I don't know, I just feel it wasn't Elohim God, maybe it was Adonai, but that's just a matter of.
I'm gonna go with what it says. It says Panem Elohim. It says face of God. So I'm gonna hold on to that because
I
that's
would
exactly what it
too.
says.
You know, I'm not gonna put God in a box that way.
I
He
was
can
just
reveal
asking.
himself
Yeah.
I
how
was
he
just
wants
asking
to.
your take on it, is what
Yeah.
I was asking.
I think he
But-
saw the face of God.
Well, if you want my take on it is
Yeah.
that Yeshua is God.
Yeah.
And that's my take on it.
Yep.
And you know that.
Yes, I know, that's
Yeah,
why.
you know that.
that's
So
why I
my
brought
take
that
on it
up.
is that he is
Yeah.
God.
Mhm.
My take on it is that God is like, I'm going to explain it like I explain H2O. So H2O can come in a liquid form, it can come in a solid form, and it can come in steam.
Oh, I wish I brought my Bible.
So
Yeah.
in a solid form, we call it ice, solid and hard rock. But you can have solid on top and still have liquid on bottom. In steam form, it dissipates like the spirit, but yet it's still H2O. So God created the heavens, and he doesn't tell us a ton about the heavens. He doesn't tell us a lot about heavenly beings. He doesn't tell us about the gods he created. He doesn't tell us about the heavenly realm. He gives us little pictures and little glimpses of it. And someday we
We will see it. in
someday
full.
we will see that. Someday we will understand it. But not today.
Okay.
And so when God created God's spoken word, it's very clear that the word was present. It's also very clear that the spirit was present. It's the spirit of God. It's the word of God. Therefore, it is God. It's all God, and it's beyond. If I could comprehend him in his fullness, then what kind of God is he? If I could comprehend him in my humanness, in my flesh, walking on this earth, in this realm, in his full being, in his full glory, then where's the majesty? Where's the awe? Where's the awesome? Where's the faith to just trust and believe that he knows beyond me? He's outside of time. I mean, that's the other thing. He's outside of time. And so when he looked at Ishmael as a boy, I see the boy where he is. That speaks volumes. Because not only did he see the boy right then, I hear him. I see him where he is right now under that bush. I saw him when he was in your womb, and I see him, when he's a young man, and I see his descendants now in 2023. He's outside of time. Time is for us. So there's a lot of aspects to him that there's no way that we're going to comprehend. That it says it's called the revelation of Christ for a reason, because then he's going to be revealed for who he fully is. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's coming. And so until then, we're going to walk by faith, and I'm going to take the word as the word. And I'm going to take it specifically for that. And when he spoke to Moses, he was speaking to Moses, about Moses. And I'd have to dissect that scripture in order to tell you the difference. But here it's very specific.
But do you not believe that Yeshua, Adonai, was involved? Because when John 1:3 says he made everything, and without him nothing was created.
Right.
So there are two involved in creation.
No, there's three. The Spirit's there too. The Spirit is hovering over the earth.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but the word says, "Let us make man in our image." So he was referring to two, I think. But I was just asking.
No, he's actually referring
how-
to Godhead. He's
how
referring
you
to a
ration-
whole council.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you rationalize that.
I don't.
When Moses said no one can
We
see
don't
his
have
face.
to rationalize.
I
it.
don't.
We take it by faith.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I believe it.
I have a thought maybe that this might help in when Yeshua was here. There was a time that he took Peter, James, and John up to the mountain,
Mhm.
and Yeshua was transfigured, and
Mhm.
there's Moses, there's Elijah, and for a glimpse, a moment, they saw Yeshua in his real nature, and it was blinding.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
too much for them to consume. But then the veil of his human body came back to where they could walk with him. I almost wonder if maybe in the same thing with Jacob, with Yaakov,
Yeah.
that it was a similar thing.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't be able to go through that test with him
Right.
if he is in his godlike nature. He's just going to bow down and fall forward. There's not going to
Yeah.
be the conversation and the wrestling that goes on. If he's in his God nature, you won't be able to see it. So
Exactly,
maybe that
exactly.
equates and makes more sense.
But it's
That's
also like when he comes with Abraham at the tent, and Abraham falls at the tent, and he's talking to God. So he comes, but that would be the word. That would be Yeshua. Yeshua. That would be him coming in a human form prior to his birth, prior to him walking on the earth and living, so that he experienced the flesh. He experienced our sins. He experienced so we can never say before him, you don't understand. Yeah, he does understand,
Yeah.
because he put a piece of him in a body. You know,
Amen.
to walk, to understand what we're walking. So it would be the same kind of thing. So he did see him face to face. Maybe not the fullness of the Godhead Father in the heavenlies, but he still saw him
Yeah, that was
a
good,
portion. So yeah, that's good. Yeah.
that was a good scripture.
The thing
to
too
get.
with Moses and Elijah at that time, just so that anyone listening has never heard this from me before, you all have. Again, God is outside of time, because someone dead is not going to come and talk to somebody alive. And Moses, quote unquote, is dead when Jesus is on the earth, when Yeshua is on the earth, right? Okay, but you know, there are moments of time when Moses is on a mountaintop. And so, again, outside of time, we cannot understand that. Okay, so I can't explain to you how both Moses and Elijah were there with him, but they were. But again, God's perspective, not our human confined time and space.
Amen.
Okay?
Definitely.
All right.
But that was
Okay.
good scripture.
Now where am I?
That was-
We're back at, let me see. Oh, I'm going to start at 11. So please accept the gift that I have brought you, for God has dealt kindly with me, and I have enough. Thus he urged him until he accepted it. Esau said, verse 12, let's break camp and get going, and I'll go first. And Yaakov said to him, my Lord knows that the children are small, and the sheep and cattle suckling their young concern me, because if they overdrive them even one day, all the flocks will die. Instead, please let my Lord go on ahead of his servant. I will travel more slowly at the pace of the cattle ahead of me and at the pace of the children until I come to my Lord in Seir. And Esau replied, then let me leave you with some of the men or the people that I have with me. You know, he had 400, right? We don't forget. But Yaakov said, there's no need, my Lord, for my Lord to be so kind to me. So Esau left, because you think at that point, maybe, just maybe, Jacob's like, God's got this. God's got this. Yeah, I don't need your men. God's got this. Right? God's got this.
After all the hugging and the kissing.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Oh, like,
I'm telling it was like seeing the face of God. I mean, you know,
right.
it's like two days, two in a row, two fantastic things, two fantastic
Yeah.
events. I mean, you know. Yeah. So, but Yaakov said, there's no need for my Lord to be so kind to me. So Esau left that day and returned to Seir. Stop. Because if you go to the next verse, you're going to go, well, let's do it. Yaakov went on to Sukkot. What? I thought he was going to go to Seir. Okay, you don't know what transpired between 16 and 17.
Right.
Go back to Laban. You've changed my wages 10 times. So let's do this and let my integrity stand for myself. Remember, I don't believe Jacob's a usurper. It says the name of Jacob means one who follows closely after, right? He has visions and dreams. Do you think that if his character was a usurper, if he was, that's repugnant to God? That he's going to have visions and dreams, that God's going to say, wherever you go, I'm going with you? So we don't know what transpires, because when we keep reading, we're going to come up to the death of Isaac here pretty soon. You're trying to so some the Bible doesn't have all the details.
Mhm.
Okay, all of the details aren't there. Nothing. There's not enough space in the world to write everything God has done. There's just not. So there are time jumps,
Mhm.
and I'm going to tell you that there's a time jump between 16 and 17. Okay, because I cannot believe that Jacob has longed to go back, that he didn't see his father before he died, or that he didn't see his mother, or that he didn't see, he didn't travel. There's just, it's just not there, and see his brother. And we'll see in just a few verses. I'll give you some more info. Let me just keep reading. You'll understand what I'm saying.
It'll come together.
It'll come together. It always does. So Yaakov went on to Sukkot, where he built himself. Remember, it's by that wadi, where he built himself a house. What? And he put up shelters for his cattle. Remember? So Isaac is a nomad. Abram's a nomad. They didn't settle in one place. They moved. They had cattle. They had sheep. They moved. They're going to pastures. The Jordan Valley is beautiful. There's pastures. They're going to be moving around. Okay? So Jacob built himself a house and he put up shelters for his cattle. This is why the place is called Sukkot, which means shelters. Right? Having traveled from Padam Aram, up north, down, Yaakov arrived safely at the city of Shechem. Now wait a minute. Do you see what just happened there? It says that he went from Padam Aram to Shechem. No, he went from Padam Aram. He went through the hills and the things. He had the thing with Laban, up in the Golan Heights and in the mountains. And he came down and he crossed the things. And he separated the camp. He met his brother Esau. He lived at Sukkot. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you there? Okay, so
Every day wasn't accounted for.
exactly, and every second and every this and then this and then this and then this. Sometimes when people, don't you just want to go? Can you please take a breath and get to the point?
Yes.
Long story short.
Many times.
So God gets to the point, and what do we say? Could you please give us some more detail? We're just never satisfied. We're just never satisfied. That's all I gotta say. Okay, verse 18. Having traveled from Padam Aram, Yaakov arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan. This is between Ebal and Gershom, okay? All right? I'm going to hear that. You know that I'm going to hear that. And he set up camp near the city. From the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, he bought for 100 pieces. This is the second piece of land that has been purchased. Second piece. If you go into the New Testament, you're actually going to hear of a piece of land that Jacob actually wins in a battle or a fight, which I was like, wow. It's not mentioned in the Old Testament, but it's mentioned in the New. Go figure. So he bought a piece of land for 100 pieces of silver, the parcel of land which he had pitched his tent. And there he put up an altar. What is that?
Covenant.
Covenant. Thank you. Covenant. I'm so glad you remembered covenant. So wherever Abram went, wherever Isaac went, wherever Jacob went, they would set up an altar. It's a covenant. It's a memorial. It's a marker to remind you of covenant. Okay? And he called that place El Elohei Yisrael. God, the God of Israel.
Amen.
And you know what? El Elohei Yisrael is God, my God too, because I'm grafted in. The God of Israel.
Yes.
The covenant is ours. The word is ours. The truth is ours. Okay? We don't supersede them. We don't usurp them. Israel is still Israel. But we are grafted.
Yes.
And he is El Elohei Israel. God, the God of Israel. And there is no other. Ekaka Adonai v'yashmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha, v'yihunecha, Yisei Adonai panav elecha, v'yihunecha, v'yeshlemcha shalom. Yeshlemcha shalom. May the Lord bless and keep you. May his face and his grace shine upon you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, and give you peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.